This is a review on the book New York 2140 by Kim Stanley Robert. It's about New York when the water level go up 50 feet.
Early in New York 2140, two boys jump into their inflatable boat to begin the day's business, scavenging through the canals of a half-drowned New York. Since the weight of the engine threatens to sink the stern, the older boy sits up front to balance it out. Much of Kim Stanley Robinson's significant body of work is built on small moments like these. Beneath the vast scope of his futurist landscapes is a fascination with the everyday rhythms of resilience. It's no surprise, then, that he's drawn the New York of 2140 to be both dramatically altered and still the biggest small town in the world. A coastal water level 50 feet higher than today has reshaped both the physical geography and the civic ecosystem, but Robinson aims to make it feel like home. Sure, millions of clams have to filter the water in the new Manhattan intertidal zone, but commuters also have to decide if walking the skybridges is going to be faster than waiting for a vaporetto. Dumps, on your carpet, about market mechanics, global warming, and human nature, reiterating that we passed several points of no return. People played with the global thermostat imagining they had godlike powers. They didn't. These interjections offer glimpses of what seems to be extensive research on New York, though Robinson's Glaciers to Tomorrow history of the island is noticeably light on mention of Native Americans, and ask us to face the reality that 2140 is a textbook rather than a science-fictional possibility. But though Robinson accepts the inevitable among his epigraphs is H.G. Wells' "What a beautiful ruin it will make," there's deep urgency in the details of this cautionary tale. It's a story that expects to be relevant sooner rather than later, and reminds us we can rarely see bubbles when we're in them, whether housing or environment. The magnitude of New York 2140's climate breakdown reads like dystopia until you realize just how close we already are to being too late.
Certainly worth finding out if it's for you. The world's coastline cities have flooded from two events called the first pulse and the second pulse, which, as expected, has changed much about the way of life in those cities. From now until this time period in the 22nd century, we've built New York even higher, with superscrapers rising taller than you could ever imagine, though because of the also rising water levels and the disastrous pulse events, the newer structures have been built to withstand, their bases being constantly submerged. Some of the older buildings have been adapted for this as well, but some have not. Daily life in the big city, nicknamed now Super Venice for its streets are no longer streets but canals, has altered drastically to the point where often certain areas and neighborhoods are like ghost towns, poorly maintained and sparsely populated, dangerous to live in or near. It's truly different from neighborhood to neighborhood, what's lasted and what hasn't. Manhattan, for the most part, though, its most historically popular buildings and scrapers are still thriving and sustaining life almost entirely within them. There have been bridges built from certain towers to others, and people often have boats with which they sail the grid of street canals and surrounding areas, but many carry out their daily lives within whatever place they live. One such place is the Met Life Tower, which exists in New York today, and we follow in this story a few of its residents as they come to know each other better due to a mixture of events and circumstances.